If I had to start all over again today, what would I do differently? I'm sharing the 3 biggest changes I would make if I were just starting my career in lettering right now. Welcome to Open Studio Podcast, space for lettering artists, illustrators, and creatives who are determined to thrive in their passion. I'm Martina Flor, and I've been through the ups and downs of building a successful creative business. From struggling to make ends meet to achieving my dream of becoming an award-winning lettering designer, I've learned valuable lessons along the way. Now, I'm here to share those lessons, strategies, and tips so that your journey can be smoother. Whether you're looking to turn your passion into a career or want insights to boost your creative business, this podcast is your guide. Join me on the Open Studio Podcast and let's make your creative dreams a reality. Welcome to Open Studio. I'm Martina Flor, and I've been running a successful business as a lettering artist for over a decade. But if I had a time machine, what would be the things that I would do differently? Here are the things that I would go back and tell my beginner self. And this is going to be a snappy episode because I just want to share these 3 very powerful things that I would do differently that have had a big impact in my business as I move forward in my career as a lettering artist. And I would have loved to have these insights early on so that I would be able to build the things bigger or more stable or in a way that I feel that I'm in control and that doesn't feel like I'm trying to reinvent the wheel every time. The number one is that I will build my mailing list from day one. And this is a big one. Nowadays, my email list is one of the main drivers of my business, and I am constantly building my email list. Now, when I started building my audience and my following on social media. And the fact is that social media is borrowed land. And you have seen throughout the years, I've been in social media, specifically on Instagram, for over 10 years. I opened my Instagram account in 2010, I believe. And 15 years of social media, and so much have changed. And Instagram looks in a totally different way than it used to look back then, and it works in a totally different way. And there's people who have built their businesses, their entire businesses on social media, on Facebook pages. Remember that? And after Meta changed their algorithm, these businesses came down because all of their following, all of their access to their customers were on social media, were built on social media. So remember that concept that social media is a borrowed land. And in episode 189, I spoke about the importance of social media and whether it makes sense for us creatives to have a presence on social media. So go check that episode out. So social media is kind of like the place where everybody goes to check who you are. And therefore, it is a place where it makes sense to have a presence. However, building your business and using social media as your unique way to reach out to your customers is, as I mentioned before, is like building a house in borrowed land. You want to start building your email list because your email list is yours. By building your email list, potential customers give you permission to mail them or to send them an email, and you own that email. So if you want to change the app that you use to send your newsletters, you can do it. You can just take those email addresses and take them onto another app. It doesn't depend, it's not app specific, it's not platform specific. The email contact belongs to you. And if you're not building one, I recommend you to start today. I started building my email list a little bit unintentionally. I added a sign-up form on my website, just mentioning that I will send a newsletter with an update of my work here and there. And this is what I did throughout the years. And when Instagram changed the algorithm where you, as me, started to notice a decline in engagement. The people who were before getting notifications on my updates, they were not getting them anymore. So I had these throughout the years. I noticed that I built this list of contacts through the opt-in on my website, and I had almost 4,000 contacts to reach out to through email. And that made a big difference for me and my business, because I was no longer being able to use Instagram as the sole driver of new leads and new customers for my business. I had also the newsletter that I could send to potential customers. So you want to start building your email list from day one. And you can start by having your friends, your contacts, the people you have worked with. And you want to also use social media as a way of driving people onto your email list and turning those followers that are on borrowed land, which is social media, and bring them into your world and bring them into your email list so that you can, in a way, you can own the permission to contact them. And it doesn't depend on the algorithm or whatever Meta or Instagram decides to do with their platform. Your ability to contact your potential customers doesn't depend on that. So remember, your email list is actually the most valuable asset in your business. And I didn't see that in the beginning of my business. I actually started intentionally building my email list later in the game, already almost like 8 years into running my business as a lettering artist. So if I would have started early on with building my email list, I believe I would have a much bigger email list, and I'm happy with the email list that I have nowadays, but I would have loved to be more conscious about the power of building your email list, and I would recommend you to start building your email list early on so you don't have to regret that later on. So do it, build your email list, drive your followers, all of your contacts into an app that you can use to send newsletters and updates to people. The second thing I would do differently is that I would be bolder about pitching myself. Opportunities don't fall from the sky. They come from conversations, from creating connections with people, from being available in the right place, from putting yourself in the right place in the right moment. The moment I started writing to people and telling them what I did, the moment I started introducing myself to other people with my business, with the lettering work that I was doing, the moment I started putting my work out there, everything shifted. The moment I started doing promotional material and sending that intentionally to people I wanted to work with, everything changed. And this applies to any creative field. This applies to any business. Every business is making big efforts into acquiring new customers. Look at the big brands. They are investing millions and millions into marketing their products, into putting their products in front of other people, into making billboard campaigns, into booking space on media, on TV. Much of their investment is in marketing. And for us creatives, it shouldn't be different. We should also invest a lot of our time and effort into marketing ourselves, into putting our work in front of the people who needs it the most, who will hire us to do the creative work that we love doing and that they need us to provide for them. So remember that you are no different than any other brand out there who is investing millions into marketing their products. You just need to invest time and a little bit of money into creating those assets, those elements that will help you put yourself in front of other people. That involves going to events, taking part on online communities. That involves creating promotional material and sending that through snail mail. That involves sending emails to the people you want to work with. And that involves also following up with all of the things, doing this consistently and not as something that you do from time to time when you don't have any project to work on. Doing client outreach and putting yourself out there and pitching your work is something that you should be constantly doing. It is the engine of your business and is the engine of your capability to make a living with your creativity. So this should definitely be part of the ongoing tasks that you do in your business. Thing number 3 that I would be doing if I would be starting over again as a lettering artist, I would invest in my growth earlier. So courses, coaching, mentorships, this really saved years of guesswork for me. And I wish I had done that from the very start. You know my story of I am originally a graphic designer. At some point, I fell out of love with my career as a graphic designer. I was working as an art director and I felt that my work was no longer creative. And I had envisioned a career for myself that was creative every day. At some point, I decided to dive into or double down into my passion, which was lettering. And I left everything behind. I quit my job. I invested all of my savings into a course in letter design. And I moved a year to the Netherlands from Argentina, where I was born. And then I moved to the Netherlands for a year to pursue this career in letter design. And after that, I decided to launch my studio as a lettering artist. So that one first step that I took of investing all of my savings into that course that really changed my career, or the direction of my career, it was a bold move. Of course, it's not something I would recommend everybody to do. It was a bold move that ended up making a great change in my life and determining the next 20 years of my life, which I love. But however, I think that there was a lot of power into saying, hey, I'm gonna invest into my growth. I'm going to invest into something that really is really meaningful for me. And that was at the end that really paid out. And later on, after that experience, it took me a long while to ask for help again. So I was already, I believe, 7 years into my business, or at least 5 years into my business. I have just had my first child, and I realized that I needed to change something. That now that I had a family, that I had other things to take care of besides my business, I couldn't continue to run my business the same way that I used to. So I decided to hire a coach, which helped me a big time to organize my business, helped me a big time to understand how much I need to earn, what are the possibilities for me, what are the things that drive my business, what is my superpower. All of these things I realized thanks to the fact that I asked for help from that coach, with which I worked for many years. And then later on, when I had another big change in my business, where my business transitioned into a different model, I had to also look for a specific help, because things were no longer working the same way that they used to work for me. And I signed up for a mastermind, which I invested a 5-figure sum to take part in. And I don't regret a penny of investing that money, because that brought a lot of income into my business, a lot of confidence in what I was doing, a lot of tools and frameworks that I use until the date. So all of that investment that I did up front on that program, on that mastermind, really changed everything for me at that stage of my journey as a lettering artist, as a business owner. So really investing into coaching, investing into mentorship really made a difference for me. It saved time, it saved struggle, it saved me from it made the difference between enjoying the journey and really suffering the journey. I felt I had someone in my corner. I felt I had someone to discuss ideas with. I felt I had someone to provide me with frameworks that I didn't have, that I didn't know. So definitely, this is something I would have done earlier in my career, specifically when it comes to mentoring and coaching. I would have done earlier in my career, because it saved me so much time. Things went so much better and so much faster, and I was making more money thanks to the fact that I had hired a coach and then later invested on a mastermind. So definitely investing in coaching and mentoring is something that I would earlier on in my career. So that's it. Those are the 3 things that I would definitely do different. First, build my email list. If you're not building your email list, you should start now. The thing number 2 would be to really pitch my work as often as I can. Remember that you are the main driver of business in your business, and therefore you should be marketing yourself, promoting yourself in every opportunity you can. This is something that you need to continuously do, and it's not something that you do from time to time when you have no projects to work on. And the thing number 3 that I would do is to invest in coaching and mentoring early on. When I look at the experiences that I had when I did that, there were big jumps in my business, in the way I was doing things, and also in my income. So I would definitely invest into coaching and mentoring because I know that it pays off. That's it. What would you do differently if you were starting today? Screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at Martina Flor with your insight or question, and we can talk about it there. And if you know someone who is starting out, share this episode with them. Thank you for joining today, and see you on the next episode of Open Studio. Bye-bye.